here we go. Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos. It is DRG. With the penguin, I guess. Is it a I don't even know if it's a penguin. I don't know. It's spawning in the top left hand corner. We have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player living the land of South Korea, representing Matcherino Esports. It is Astrea. Boy, and I am excited. Of course, shout out to Patches earlier. He was a good warm-up here, getting into our next series. As now we have some of the pro players hitting each other instead, and Astrea has been getting a lot of really good results recently. He's been, of course, practicing in Korea for a couple of months at this point, and it's been really showing in his play. It's been really showing in the amount of players, the caliber of players that he's been bringing down. So typically I would say that DRG is the favorite, but now I feel like the lines are being blurred. Now Astrea has really proven to us that he can go toe-to-toe with the best of the players out there, with the best of them. Players like DRG, players like Ragnarok, even players like Solar and Dark on good days. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how far Astrea can go. As a reminder, last week in KSL, Astrea, he eliminated Classic, and Astrea made it all the way to the semi-finals of the KSL. So we'll see if he can go that far again. We'll see if he can go even further and make it to the finals. Meanwhile, DRG is here to stop him. DRG is here to make sure we all remember who he is, even though he of course has been competing for a very long time, ever since the early days of even Wings of Liberty. DRG's been competing for a long time. Oh god. And even though some people would say that maybe he's like past his prime, I would say that he's still a very competitive player. He's still definitely getting good results from time to time. He's not as dominant in the competitive scene like he once was. Of course, there's still players like Dark and Solar who at times overshadow him in Korea. But likewise, on good days, DRG can go toe-to-toe and can take down said players as well. As it is going to be a Stargate opener from Astrea. Let's go. So things looking pretty normal, pretty standard for the time being. I think what I also love about Astrea is that he can be a very quirky player. He can be really creative, really innovative, willing to divert from the norm and mix things up. I'm reminded of Patty Mac going for the Patty. I'm reminded of like he can go for a Patty Mac-esque kind of build, going for DTs, going for Phoenixes. Astrea, he's willing to go for 2 base all-ins, immortal pushes, builds that are quite out of fashion but can work quite well, especially if you have the execution, the micro, the macro behind it. We'll see. We'll see, as the first Oracle is going to be zooming across the map. We still have pretty good saturation here on our bases. Third base on the way for DRG. Everything is looking pretty solid here from our Zerg player. Momentarily, we should be seeing some spores. For now, we have 2 queens at the natural. We have 1 queen here in the main, about to be joined by a 2nd queen. Lings move out, and oh, they even force the Oracle to turn back around and come back home. So DRG doing a great job of just buying him time, giving him the room to make more of these queens and make sure he's that much more secure against the Oracles. As Lings are flooding across the map, the goal here again is to just keep Astrea back at home, keep these Oracles away from DRG's mineral lines. We're not really getting any damage, but, you know, we have the freedom to drone up back at home. Fast Evo Chamber for +1 melee. Third base getting up and running. Now 3 queens here at the third base. And Astrea is content to stick around. Now he's got a 2nd Oracle, so he's going to be moving out. He does have that 1-shot potential. Likewise, back at home, he has an additional Adept. Third base is safe and sound. We have a 3rd Oracle behind this, and now we're transitioning into Blink and, into the Twilight Council and the Forge, into soon-to-be +1 and Blink. Ooh, meanwhile, really tidy micro there out of Astrea, keeps the Oracles alive, gets 5 drone kills across the map. No Spore was available. I'm sure if there was one, maybe we could have dealt a little bit more damage, but regardless, the Oracle survived, so really nicely done. That is a 3rd Oracle. That's a fourth Oracle. That's that's interesting. So we're going to be committing a little bit harder here. Fourth Oracle is on the way. All right, we've seen Astrea do this before, actually. I think it was in the last KSL, if I do recall. I think he did this against Dark, where Astrea, it's very unique, but he goes up to 4 Oracles, so he has 2 hit squads. He has a group of 2 Oracles here hitting one base, and he's going to have a second group of Oracles as well. Of course, this is very taxing. This is very micro-intensive, but I love that Astrea, he's willing to mix things up like this and willing to test his opponent, as he is going to be, I believe, mixing up his Oracles. We'll see if he pulls them together or if he splits them apart. Okay, so he's going to be keeping 1 at home to defend against any kind of Link counterattack, and he's moving out with 3 of them. Going to be cleaning out some of these Overlords. DRG just getting saturated on 3 bases. 66 drones is what you need for 3 base saturation. Ooh, and Astrea wants to lay siege upon this 4th. He wants to try to force a cancel if possible. Oh. So far, DRG is holding on. Behind this, we are up to... we've only got 6 gates on the way. Now 8 gates. Massive stage trap does go off, but DRG is able to hold on to his 4th base. We do have a couple of workers going down. The Adepts do shade into that 3rd base. Oh my god. 7? 7 drones go down. Very nice damage here from Astrea. DRG caught completely off guard. Oracle sharking around. They find another drone. Now we do have a lot of Lings on the field. +1 melee is done. We're going to try and deny some bases, but at this point, I don't know how much these things can really do. There is an Oracle back at home. A Station Trap does go off. Do force a cancel on a gateway, but yeah, we only get that cancel. Meanwhile, DRG, he's working on a Hydrogen, working on an Infestation Pit for some potentially Hive Tech. Vipers, Lurkers. All that good stuff. Solid surround on this 4th. Astrea, he may have been able to hold on to his 3rd, but I can't say the same about his 4th base. He just wasn't in position. We force a cancel. That's brutal. That 4th base was almost done. Back at home, Astrea working on his own army. A pretty interesting composition. He's actually prioritizing Immortal production. He's got Immortals on the way. Charge Lots, Archon, Storm. He's working on a pretty solid army. I assumed, especially with his first move out, I assumed that he was going to be aggressive with Blink Stalkers, but no, he's been skipping Warp-ins. He has been intentionally avoiding Warp-ins to just tech up even further, to really vary up his army. Incorporate more Immortals, incorporate more High Templar. So yeah, really defensive style coming out from Astrea. Really respecting and recognizing the amount of map control that DRG has. Speaking of the Lings they get first round, we do have a Storm available, but no, the High Templar doesn't have the energy for it. Oh, we're going to force the overcharge as well. A lot of Delts do go down. We won't get into the mineral line, but regardless, this was still a good trade for DRG. Cleaned up those Zealots. Lunkers are on the way. We were talking about that Hive Tech earlier, and now we can get into Lurker upgrades. DRG recognizing that Astrea was very defensive and very passive as a result. And with all of that, with the freedom that DRG has had, he's just taking up even further. Working on all of his upgrades. Getting the best anti-ground army he can muster. Meanwhile, looking at the vision of Astrea, I believe he sees the Lurkers. So he knows. He's now fully aware of what his opponent's doing. And Astrea has to make a choice. We can go into Disruptors. We can tech up into Skytoss. Relying on this mainly ground army here, it's... Oh my god! The Storm! Jesus, that High Templar has 48 kills. My god. As I was about to say that ideally you don't want to be pushing into Lurkers. It's too late at this point. We have how many? 7 Lurkers, about to be 13. Sorry, 11. So I think this is the right move. We have a Fleet Beacon on the way. Fleet Beacon, +1 air. We're going to Skytoss. We're going to the late game. And I think this is a wise choice from Astrea. I do think that he could have made this decision a little bit sooner. Like, as soon as he sees lurkers, like, which was around a minute ago, I think we could have gone for the Skytras transition. But regardless, it is on the way. Basically, if the Zerg player is able to get into lurkers before the Protoss really has an army to punish it, then we do have to accept, like, the game state and go into Skytos. Lurkers have arrived. Oh, third base is under threat at the same time. A massive League run, but we're getting some of the High Templar. The storms are insane, but we get every single High Templar. Oh, bar a couple. How many High Templar did we have? Okay, he got 4 kills. We have 3 more with the main army. Regardless, that means that a lot of storms are not available for these lurkers. The base is still under threat. DRG, he is going to be losing everything, though. He's sticking around. Uh-oh. We get the full surround, the storms as well, and DRG, he overstayed his welcome. He loses all of his lurkers. That was a massive loss for the Zerg. He's rebuilding those lurkers as we speak, but oh boy, he needs time. And while he's mustering up his army, Astrea, he can get a base. He goes pushing on forward. We have 5 lurkers right now. Not amazing, but we're going to be able to hold on to the ramp at least. Revelation does reveal those lurkers. Storms are being thrown down as well on the Hydras. Ay, ay, ay. You can see DRG trying to hold on. Is pushing on forward as well. Is going to force the army back. We'll lose a couple of these lurkers, but he does actually get on top of the Immortals. Up. It's Astrea's turn to overextend. As every Immortal goes down. That was 6 Immortals. My god. 6 Immortals go down. This is getting really scrappy. Both players just throwing away their armies time and time again. And now it is DRG's turn. He pushes on forward, a massive storm on those lurkers, but this 5th base is not going to finish up, or at least it shouldn't. Storms are connecting with the Hydras, with the Lings as well. Very high value storms. Oh my god. Astrea trading well, but the base is still under threat. The Lings are wreaking havoc in the middle line. There's only 3 Lings, but they take down every single probe. It looks like DRG has done it at the same time across enough. We have a Zealot counterattack, where the reinforcements are keeping up. 28 probes go down. The 3rd base falls. The 5th base will fall as well. And Astrea, even though he threw down that fleet beacon earlier, he was never able to get into that Skytel. So we have 1 carrier on the way. We only have 1 Stargate to our name. It's not going to be enough. DRG has the economy. He has the worker count. He can remax. He can rebuild. Astrea cannot. Especially with his 1 robo being depowered. That's that. Ay, ay, ay. It was a good effort, and I do understand that Astrea wanted to capitalize on the overextension of DRG when he threw away all those lurkers initially, but alas, again, Astrea, he also just pushed out a little bit too far, lost his army, lost his momentum, and as a result, he has lost his bases. That was another kill on that 3rd. Storm zoning away the Lings and the Hydras, but the lurkers, they do push on forward. Storms are doing what they can, but we're running out of energy, Papi. We're running out. Lings are coming in from behind. The lurkers getting in range of the Nexus. That carrier is not enough. That's another kill. That's a 3rd kill on that base. As Astrea holds on for dear life, but GG gets called, and DRG takes game number 1. GG. That was a little bit scrappy. That was quite back and forth, to be honest. You know, at one moment, DRG loses his high-tech units. The next moment, so does Astrea. Oh. And, yeah, with that, DRG is able to fight back. I'm actually looking at the army supply graphs, and Astrea at a point had double the army supply of his opponents. I think that's when he was pushing out, and yeah, when he lost all those immortals. Still quite close though. Still quite close. So I want to believe. I want to believe that we can get an ace match. I want to believe that Astrea can fight back. And we'll see if he can. We will see. Catching up in the chat. MVP Templar. That Storm. I know what Storm you're talking about. That was crazy. The value, Poppy, the value. I tried signing up for Afrika. Yeah. Fun fact, back in the day there used to be a global Afrika platform. There used to be a global platform. But it was unsuccessful. I remember streaming on it. When was this? Like 2015, 2016? A number of years ago, actually. Now that I think about it, but the global Afrika platform was only open for a year, maybe 2 years. They used to host StarCraft events on it as well. They used to host StarCraft events. But again, it never really caught on, and there were never too many creators on it, and in the end they shut it down. Which is a shame. Now they mainly have their Korean-based platform. I know it's not the easiest to make use of, not the easiest, depending on where you live. Not only Mr. Afrika, but his arch nemesis, Captain Mech. Este Jado. Here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gressfarm. We have the American Protoss player living in the land of South Korea, representing Matcherino Esports. Down in the series, but not out. It is Astrea. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg, representing Team Abydos, leading the series at 1-0. It is DRG. Did you get the Stormgate survey email? I don't know. I do such a bad job at checking my emails. Like, there's just so much there. Ay. I'm checking right now. Hold on. Stormgate. Yeah, no. No. But yeah, it's cool to hear. Stormgate on the horizon. Keep an eye out for the closed alpha at the end of the year, something like that. Eventually. No. But for now, our attention, of course, is here on this game, on StarCraft. And we'll see how things will differ. Now we're gonna be loading into Gressfarm, a much larger map compared to what we had earlier. Can lead to longer games. There are a lot of choke points, a lot of defensive aspects of Gressfarm as well. If Astrea wanted to slow the game down, and if he wanted to get into Skytoss, which he wasn't able to do on Babylon, then he could do so here. Could definitely do so here. I hope he doesn't. I hope that's not where we're headed, but it is an option available to Astrea. It is something that he can make use of. That Skytoss. As we have a Stargate opener. Again, the reason for that is just because we have ramps coming into the third base location. We have a lot of choke points. The bases themselves are very close together. They're very close-knit. They're easier to defend as a result, at least when it comes to your initial 4 and even your 5th base back here as well. So, yeah, or I should say 4th and even 5th base back here. So because that, you can kind of turtle up and you can be very defensive as a Protoss player or a Terran player as well. That's why we have seen so many split map scenarios on Gressfarm in a lot of these matchups. Whether it's ZVT, ZVP, or even ZVZ as well. I'm still scarred by Dark's late game ZVZ on this map. Never again. Never again, Bobby. Never again. So it is something you make use of. We'll see if Astrea does head in that direction. I don't think he would. I understand that last game he was taking towards carrier production, but I think he was forced into that situation just because he scattered the lurker transition so late. So it's kind of what he had to go for. I don't think it's something that he necessarily wanted to go for. As we have the third base on the way. Gonna be able to get on top of this probe. We have the Oracle back at home to defend. Interesting. Gonna be spending a little bit of energy there to take down some of those Lings. DRG making another flood of Lings behind this, just to keep the pressure on Astrea. But Astrea does not want to turn around. He's once again moving out with his Oracles, looking for some of that damage. And so far, he hasn't found too much. He just gets an eye on the saturation, on the droning. Gets on out of there. Meanwhile, across the map, the Lings are going first round. Onto this Nexus. The Oracles, they were not in position. I don't think we're going to force a cancel. It's going to be close. Up. We do a bit of hull damage, but the Oracles do make it back home in time. They are going to be able to keep that third base alive, but again, DRG did buy himself a lot of time to get his queens in position. We have 3 queens here at the natural, 3 queens at the third, 1 queen in the main, but we have a sport to make up for that, so it's okay. Queen isn't alone. You can see that DRG is more than prepared for the Oracle aggression of Astrea. And they're going to be 3 Oracles this time. We have 2 Adepts looking to sneak on in. If you remember, these 2 Adepts, I think they killed 6 to 8 drones last time, which was pretty impressive. See if he can do it again. Station Trap does get thrown down in the main base. Only going to catch 1 drone. As the Adepts do commit to the shade in towards that third base. They're going to focus on whatever they can. They're going to get up at least 1 more. 5 drones in total. Not too bad. Considering that the Oracles all survived and we only lost 2 Adepts. 2 Adepts for 5 drones. Pretty good damage overall. As we do see DRG just going for a bit of a counterattack, getting an eye on the production on the army. Confirms that it's going to be Blink and not Charge. As Astrea is transitioning into a Templar Archive, so he's working towards Storm again, or at least Archons. So he's not going for a 3-base all-in. He's not going for Mass Stalker. He's going to be diversifying his army. He is being denied. DRG, ooh, very quick to tech up. That is a very fast infestation bit coming out from DRG. I'm curious what this is going to be for. I imagine this is just for Hive Tech, but a part of me hopes it's for something more. Especially because of how Ling heavy we are. No, never mind. Never mind. There's the Hydrogen. It looks like DRG once again wants to get into those lurkers. The lurkers, Matthew. Let's go. DRG is able to get a couple of stalkers. Does delay the 4th. Does get eyes on it. Another Ling counterattack. So this is really interesting. We saw this in the last game as well. DRG didn't make any Banelings. He's working on +2 melee, sure, but he didn't make any Banelings last game, and I don't know if he's going to make any Banelings this game either. I mean, he actually doesn't have a Baneling nest, which is really interesting. It's really interesting because typically in ZVP, you are so heavily reliant on Baneling run-bys, but it looks like he has recognized, like, look at how defensive Astrea is. Like, his SimCity, his Cannon, his Immortal in hold position, like, Banelings, they're not going to touch this. There's no way. So because of that, DRG, he's not going to try, he's not going to waste any gas. He's conserving and preserving all of his gas and taking up very quickly into the lurkers, into the hive instead. He's investing his gas in other places, and he's using all these links to keep Astrea busy back at home. And this isn't supposed to do damage. If he finds Immortals, that's great, and these Immortals are very exposed. If he finds units, that's going to be amazing, and he's threatening to do so. But for the most part, DRG just wants to keep Astrea's attention across the map while he techs up very quickly and very heavily into lurkers. It's really interesting. You don't see this happen too often. I've seen Dark play like this a couple of times. But Dark, he goes for a different variation of this. He goes into Ultras instead. On maps like Ancient Cistern, like Dark is willing to rush into Ultra Tech, and it makes sense because it coincides with the melee upgrades. Like, the melee upgrades will also assist with the Hive Tech Ultras. As the Oracles dive into the main base, we're going to get some of those gas mining workers. DRG is a diva enjoyer. 6 drones go down. A Link counterattack does get stasis, so a good amount of economic damage is being done. The Oracles also get eyes on that lurker den researching, so Astrea is fully aware of what's going on. The lurkers have arrived. 12 drones go down. Very nice damage done here by Astrea. DRG not quite being in position, but he doesn't care. He's focusing on his main assault. The lurkers have arrived. We have 7 lurkers in total. Getting us around. Storm is done. Uh-oh, we have a lot of Storm. Not quite engaging with the army yet. Oh, Barra, Papi, Barra. As the lurkers are getting in position. Overcharge is running out. The choke point here is working against Astrea. Storm is going to soften up some of these lurkers, but the base itself is under threat. Astrea is being zoned away. He can't push forward. Not through this choke point. But he has to. He's now pushing on in. He has to try to hold on to this base. Lings are coming in to reinforce, buying DRG a little bit of time as the base does fall. And this time, DRG will not stick around. He will just back off and go back home. 17 probes went down, as well as the third base. The damage has been done. DRG setting up a Ling counterattack again. No Bailey Nest, so just pure Ling run-bys. He's going to get shut down. We have a wall of cannons, shield batteries, High Templar. But DRG, he's just backing off, remaxing, rebuilding with more lurkers. He has a healthy 84 worker counts. DRG has remaxed, and Astrea is struggling to hold on. He has a lot of High Templar, he has a lot of Storm. But is he going to be in position? Oh, speaking of, first couple of Storms do connect. So far, so good for Astrea. Meanwhile, Link counterattack. The wall is a wall. Lings are threatening to come in from behind. Ugh. One more Storm, and these first 3 lurkers can go down. I think Astrea is just going to reposition. DRG is just going to reposition. Maneuver over. Is going to get tagged here by Astrea's army. We do see DRG thinking about pushing up this ramp. But because there are so many Storms, we just can't do so. DRG is just trying to get the better concave. A massive Storm connects on those Lings. Behind this Astrea, he's trying to get into Skytel, so we have a Stargate, a Fleet Beacon on the way. Can he get into those carriers this time? Ooh, as the Immortals are quite beefy and we're getting on top of these lurkers, DRG is going to lose quite a lot. We need to respect the Immortals. They are so tanky. Yeah, we can see the Immortals just forcing their way through. We're going to be trading out a little bit. 3 Immortals go down. A bit of a rough trade for Astrea. What was that? That was 4 Immortals for 15 lurkers. My god. That's a lot of lurkers. But DRG, he can afford this. That's the thing. Like, he's on 87 workers. He's up to 5 bases. Sorry, 6 bases even. God, Astrea basically defending with pure Storm Immortal. First wave of Tempest are on the way. This is dangerous. DRG's on a timer. He's running out of time. Tempest has been revealed. DRG has to transition. He needs to start getting into Corruptors. Or at least Vipers. Zelarama doing a lot of damage. Astrea forcing DRG to back off. Initially, Astrea, remember, he lost his third base. He was up against the wall, but now he's been able to hold on to his 4 bases. He's turtling up very nicely. And Astrea is maxing out. He is maxing out. And now I worry for DRG. He is making Vipers, which is good. Vipers, or Hydra Lurker Viper, can deal with a low amount of Skytoss units. And we only have 3 Tempests. There are only 3 Tempests on the map. This is manageable. The problem is that DRG doesn't have a Spire. He doesn't have a Spire on the way, which means he is not really thinking about the later stages of this game. He intends to end the game earlier, and if he doesn't, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Here we go, the Lurkers have arrived. Big connections on the side defense. It looks like this base is going to be compromised. Oh my god, the storms are insane, but there just aren't enough storms. This base is going to go down. Astrea is just going to give it up. The rest of the Tempests are being revealed. Astrea, as he gives up this 4th base, he's expanding and he's taking another. Their base is on the way. There's that Spire from DRG. A little bit of a late Spire, but on the way nonetheless. Oof. Oh my god. Storms once again keeping DRG back. Astrea gets his 4th base back up and running, now working on a 5th. Lurkers trying to force their way into these bases, and we're getting a good amount of these cannons at least, but other storms once again connecting with those Hydras. The Tempest focus down the Vipers as well. Okay, we don't have enough anti-air. Even a duct won't do anything. The Vipers go down. The the Hydras melt. Oh, it was a brutal trade for DRG. Loses all of his Vipers. He's going to be losing a lot of these Lurkers as well. Spire just now finishes for DRG. He is going to deny the 5th. The Lurker's trying to keep these Tempests busy as well. Yeah, as Astrea is in position and DRG is being forced back. And he's still stuck on the Hydra Lurker Viper. The Vipers, they just haven't been able to find any abducts. They haven't found the connections that they've been looking for. You see DRG trying to take down this 4th base, and it is looking a little bit exposed. It's getting into the mineral line as well, but oh god, these Tempests are just wreaking havoc here on this army. There is no answer to them. Zealot run by once again, just distracting DRG, keeping him pinned back at home. Astrea at this point has successfully transitioned into a more Skytoss heavy composition. He still needs a couple of moments here to set up this 5th base. DRG doing his best to try to contain his opponent, but Storm does zone him back. Astrea is holding on. Oh my god. So this is the big problem, of course, with Hydra Lurker Viper, is that Storms just take care of everything. My god. Storms alongside the Tempest, of course. So another massive Storm connects with the Hydras. We barely have any anti-air left. DRG force back once again. We keep making Hydras! Oh, it's not working. It's... DRG, he has the Spire. He's working on 1-1. But he is not willing to incorporate Corruptors yet. I guess because he's so far behind in those upgrades. But I feel like this is hurting him more than it's helping him. Like, he's not finding any economic damage. He's burning minerals and gas. right before our eyes. Like, Hydras are pretty expensive. They're very gas intensive, and he just hasn't been able to trade efficiently whatsoever. Especially these past couple of minutes. But we'll see if we can pay off. As more storms are gonna be turning this away. Tempests have arrived. We're missing some detection. We go for the yoinks. We're gonna be able to get 1, 2 Tempests. We get a third and a fourth. Good damage was done. Finally, some Tempests go down. Oh my god. The storms are too much. DRG losing every single one of his Hydras. But it's okay, we got 19 more in production. DRG, he's trying to just brute force this composition, trying to make it work. And to be fair, the army of Astrea has been shrinking. Like, remember, he killed 4 Tempests. He's getting the base, he gets us around. The Cracklings go ham on that Nexus. We had so many storms earlier, but we are running out of storms. Oh. Speaking of storms. Lurkers do go down. Do we have any Vipers remaining? We have 3 Vipers. They're gathering up energy at this natural base. DRG is out of a bank. I don't think he's had a bank for a while. He's trying to he's trying to take control of these gases. He's oversaturated, trying to take another base. DRG is running out of money. He has 90 workers, but he's actually not mining efficiently from all those workers. He's to gain control of his economy. There we go. DRG has now remaxed. And he's going to be able to find a base. Gets on top of that third. Solid of ducks on these Tempests. Very nicely done. 3 more Tempests go down. That Tempest count isn't as high as it once was. It's not that as threatening as it once was. Still threatening enough. Still. It's going to force back the army, but we get 20 probes. So good push here from DRG. Things are swinging back in his favor. And Astrea is on the back foot. He's lost one of his important mining bases. We do see DRG rotating around. He's going to try and punish this center base as well. Yeah, we're running out of storms, running out of High Templar. We had so many of them earlier, but not anymore. DRG is pulling Astrea apart. It took a while. I was really concerned for DRG. It felt like Astrea was doing such a phenomenal job at holding on. But over time, DRG was trading well enough. He had a good enough economy as well. He could apparently sustain his losses just barely. It felt like it was on a knife's edge for a lot of that. But DRG is able to sustain himself for long enough. Who needs Corruptors? Nah, don't need them. Oh my god, as we have a massive Link counterattack. No shield batteries. 10 probes go down. The army gets recalled, and that will expose this northern base. TRG is remaxed. Astrea still down 80 supply, heavily oversaturated. Just goes to show how little economy Astrea has right now. That's why he cannot rebuild his army. He's just not mining. just is not mining. A couple more ducks come in. It looks like we're only going to get one Tempest this time. Not amazing, but there's nothing on the ground to support the Hydras. They can finally bust them through. Finally, there are no more High Templar, no more Storm. The Hydras have free reign. It took a while, but the weather has cleared up. It is all sunshine and rainbows. The storm clouds, they have dissipated. The Hydras, they start to step forward. And they're just pushing these Tempests back into the main base. It's still looking quite close in a sense. It looks like DRG can't quite push this all the way back. But for the most part, he's broken through it. I mean, look at all these Lings. Lings, they get us around on the Archons, on the Zealots. They're going to be able to clean up what little is left on the ground. GG gets called, and DRG takes the series 2-0. GG in a pretty intense game number 2. Oh my god. It was really interesting. I love how DRG played it out overall, how he was skipping out banelings, he rushed into lurker tech, and he initially gained the advantage, but then we saw the defensive prowess of Astrea come into play. We saw that with as little as he had, the handful of Immortals, the Storms, the High Templar, he was able to defend and turtle up well enough to actually get into a decent Tempest count. And for a while there, he was actually out trading his opponent. He was successfully defending his bases, but over time, a High Templar or two were dying, you know, an Immortal here and there, an Archon here and there. Over time, DRG did eventually overcome, the defenses of Astrea. It wasn't easy, and thankfully for DRG, he had a good enough economy to sustain himself. It did feel really close, so it felt like DRG was like one bad fight away from losing everything, and for everything just swinging in favor of Astrea. So it was pretty intense. Pretty intense. But GG, well played. Congratulations to DRG. He advances on to the semifinals, where we have our next player ready and waiting.